Hi friends, I am back and today I will be making pizza dough from scratch and subsequently some pizzas. I have a lot of yeast that is about to go bad at the end of this month, so I figured I'd start a little mini series for you all and bring you along for the ride. So to start, I'm just going to take some warm water, pour it into my mixing bowl, and then I am going to add a little bit of sugar. I'll put the recipe with the exact measurements down in the description below if anyone would like to try it along with me. But I'm just going to take a little sugar and dissolve that down into the bowl. Next, I'm going to open up the yeast, pour that on top, and then just let it bloom for 5 minutes until the mixture gets frothy. Okay, 5 minutes later, and I remembered my apron, and the water is frothy from the yeast. We're just going to add in all the dry ingredients, starting with the flour. And you'll see me struggle a little bit here because I basically scraped the container clean for this recipe. And before you ask, yes, that is a very large bag of flour sitting right next to me on the counter that I could have easily opened and made life a whole lot simpler. However, I wanted to empty the container, clean it out, and then refill it completely from fresh. I just felt like it was time for my flour jar to get a nice cleaning. So that is why I am doing the hard way instead of just making life a whole hell of a lot simpler by opening up the new bag. Now that the flour is all finished, we're going to add, well, I guess this isn't a dry ingredient, but the rest of the ingredients, we're going to add olive oil and then salt. And then we're just going to mix it all together with a wooden spoon until it's a bit of kind of like a shaggy looking dough. All right, so now that the dough is the desired consistency from the spoon, we're going to pull out our silicone mats, and you can use literally any clean flat surface. You could even just put some plastic wrap onto your countertop, and then we're going to add some flour. You want to add enough so that the dough doesn't stick to your flat surface, but you don't want to add so much that it will change the consistency of your dough while you're kneading it. So lightly floured. Then we're just going to dump the dough out onto the surface and knead it for about 8 minutes until it is shiny and elastic. Okay, so As you can see, my dough is still very sticky. So I am going to add a little bit more flour to it, and you just want to add a little flour at a time. You don't want to add a whole bunch because, like I said, you don't want to change the dough that you're making, but you can add a little flour, maybe like a teaspoon or so at a time, just to make the consistency where you want it to be. This is a warning though to anyone with sensory issues. This part of the process can feel a bit overwhelming, or it could feel very fun depending on, how stimulated you currently are at the moment. But I just wanted to put that warning out there. And also, if you're wondering why I keep just staring at my hands, it's because I'm just kind of like, all right, I guess we're gonna finish this. But yes, just a heads up. And it is indeed still a bit sticky. So, much to my chagrin, I am going to have to open this bag of flour sooner than expected, but it's all good. I'm just gonna shake out a little bit of flour. It actually already had a hole in the side, so it worked out. And work the rest of this little flour into the dough. But as you can also tell, we're getting there. All right, and we are in the final stretch. I do reach up to roll my sleeve and accidentally smack the ceiling, so very grateful that we're almost done because now I only have one hand that's working. But I'm going to just roll this up, go wash my hands, and then I am going to get my grease and spray a larger bowl with that so that the dough can sit inside of it and rise. Once we have the dough in the bowl, we are going to cover it with a damp towel, and we're going to let this sit in a warm place for about an hour or until our dough doubles in size. In the meantime, in between time, we are going to go ahead and make our pizza sauce. So we're just going to start with a hot pan, some olive oil down into it, and then our seasonings, everything except the salt and the bay leaves. We're going to go ahead and toast that all up, get it nice and aromatic. And I wish you all could smell the kitchen at this point because it's just divine. Then we're going to add in some tomato paste, the tomato sauce, and obviously you can use a sauce just straight out of the can, but I like flavor, so I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. And I've got pretty much everything mixed in here. The tomato paste has gone smooth, but it is a little thick, so I am going to go ahead and add some water. Not a whole lot, but just enough to kind of thin it out and make it a little bit easier to spread on the pizza dough. Now that I have the consistency that I want, and I know I'm not going to add any more water, I'm going to give it a taste, add anything that I feel like it is missing flavor-wise. So in this case, I'm adding some more smoked paprika and some more garlic, and I think I forgot to show on camera, but I do end up adding salt to it. After I give it another taste test and I'm satisfied with the flavor of it all, I'm going to go ahead and drop in my bay leaves and cover it with a lid and let it continue to simmer on low heat for about 20 minutes. And now that the dough has risen like Jesus on Easter Sunday, we're going to go ahead and separate it into 2 pieces and use each piece to make 1 pizza. Then, working with 1 section of dough at a time, I'm going to take a floured rolling pin and roll the dough out to my desired thickness. Alright, and now that the dough is to my liking, I'm going to go ahead and pull out some parchment paper and at the end of my parchment paper. So thankfully, this seems like it will be the perfect size for this 1 pizza. So we're just going to go ahead and transfer the dough onto there and then start adding our toppings. So starting with the sauce, I'm going to put a pretty decent layer, not too thick, not too thin. This is your pizza, so you can do yours however you so choose. I'm just going to spread it out and get like an even layer across the entire dough. Then I'm going to add the cheese. I'm using a mixture of mozzarella and Monterey Jack because that is what I had on hand, and I don't know if you can tell, but this is kind of impromptu. And for toppings, I am using black olives and pineapples. Alright, now that this first one is all dressed up with nowhere to go but the hot oven, that is exactly where she's headed. And I preheated the oven with pans inside of it to 475 degrees. And if you were paying close attention, you would have noticed that happening while I was making the sauce for the pizzas. So I'm going to cook them one at a time just because I don't want this just sitting out. And I almost dropped it. Oh my goodness, y'all. That would have been the end of the video. Like, honestly, this video wouldn't even be being made if I had dropped this pizza. I would have been so sad. But I'm just gonna go ahead and stick the first one in so it can go ahead and gets to going while I go ahead and start doing basically the exact same thing on the second one. So for this one, I called myself being a little bit more fancy and was going to try and put cornmeal on the bottom of the crust. But if you noticed, I did not put any oil on the bottom of the crust. So when I went to flip it over onto the foil, because I'm out of parchment paper, but we don't gotta talk about that. Yeah, it all just basically fell off. So I just kind of rubbed it around on the foil and hoped that it would bake into it in the oven. Spoiler alert, it did not. It simply didn't. I think the oil is kind of a necessary tidbit to that part of the situation. So learn from my mistakes. But anywho, we're gonna go ahead and dress it up same way. Add the sauce, add the cheese, add the olives, add the pineapples, and I just threw the rest of the cheese on top. And then I did try and make this one a bit more square to fit the pan properly. So yeah, we're just gonna stick it in the pan, throw that bad boy in the oven, set a second timer, and wait for the magic to happen. And in learning from my almost tragic accident on that first pizza, I went ahead and pulled this pan out and brought it to the pizza rather than bringing the pizza to the pan. Also, this way the oven could stay closed since I do currently have something in there baking. I don't want a whole bunch of heat escaping while I'm trying to shuffle a pizza over. Please, please, please be careful when dealing with 475 degree pans though. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Please do not burn yourself. And like I said, I went ahead and set a second 12-minute timer, and these are the results. They came out looking so delicious. That cheese is the perfect color. The crust is the perfect color. Oh my goodness. And I can tell you from personal experience that this was freaking delicious. And I'm definitely going to be making more pizza this month with this yeast. I'm not certain if I will make another video because it's going to be basically the exact same process, just different toppings. But yes, look at that crust. Delicious. All right, and that concludes episode 1 of Beauty and the Yeast. And this was honestly so delicious. I'm excited to try more recipes, and I hope you all are excited to try them with me. Let me know down in the comments if you made this one, and if you did, what toppings went on your pizza? And what's the verdict for you? Pineapple on pizza, hate crime, or divine? As always, I want you to remember to have fun, stay safe, and stay hydrated. I love you. Peace.